Hey traders, TJ Watkins here. It is November 3rd when I'm recording this. Hope everyone's doing well. If you guys need more information about me, of course, you can see it here at StockCharts.com. But also we have a trading room, the Moxie Indicator trading room over at SimplerTrading.com. And then since we just had the Orlando Money Show, we just came back from there, had a great time. We had a few of our traders out there. I had a couple presentations. This was one of them. I think we'll have to work on some better pictures once the rest of the crew kind of gets in and gets settled. But this was up me on the main stage, kind of in the main auditorium area. So we had a good time with that one. And my title was, "Are the bears wrong, or is this a bull trap?" And basically, my message was, yes, it's been a pretty rough couple of months that the market's been pulling back, but the macro indicators, the internals that I was seeing was starting to say, like, look, everything is spring loaded to go to the other direction. I mean, we've been going down for 3 months, and I can just keep going through all the stuff that we basically had that was getting the market ready to spring up. Now, it basically started Monday. We saw Monday that the market kind of turned around a little bit and then engaged with the lower time frames. And then we had Jerome Powell, the FOMC on Wednesday, which really set things off, plus earnings. Now, all of this combined, I got some things I want to show you guys. So let's take a look at some of this, and then we can also take a look at some of the internals. First off, if we look over here as far as the internals, remember, I always talk about the 20-day SMA here when we have price when the internals are very oversold like this. And the one thing we could see here the last time was we had a new lower low with the market, but we had a higher low with internals. And so that told us the market was getting less bad. That was kind of the first clue here with the 20-day SMA. The next thing we could also see was the 50-day SMA actually kind of did a double bottom. It was like a little bit higher, so slightly higher than compared to the market making new lows. So that was kind of important too. Since then, since we've had the market shoot up, I mean, look at this. We've seen a huge change. This is really a huge difference. Anybody expect a V-bottom from this? Yeah, I didn't think so either. And so we look at that, and then we can also look here. New highs, new lows, and clearly we're seeing some strong support in through here, which is fantastic. But it came after the market was just getting beat up like crazy. Only in hindsight would I have noticed that this right here on the new high, new low differential started to kind of zigzag. Just kind of something to point out. I don't know if I can really talk too much about that, but I kind of like, maybe that's something we'll have to file away for later. And then we can also look. Oh, let me come over here to the weekly charts. So TLT, TNX, these are some big things that everyone's been talking about. And if the TLT can just stabilize, that's really kind of been the biggest thing. They're just looking if price can stabilize. And let's do that, and then I can show here what I've been noticing. What I was talking about, even at the money show, I said that pay attention to here, the TLT and then the TNX, which is opposite. When it gets outside of the third ATR, they tend to come back in. You can even see here outside of third ATR, it comes back in. Third ATR comes back in. And what were we doing over the last few months? They had dropped so precipitously that we got price outside of the third ATR, and we finally just got a little bit of a reprieve, and that was enough to spike things the other direction. You could see that here also on the daily and hourly chart. And check this out. We had a hourly Moxie price trigger right there, and then price started to engage with the hourly 50. You can even see leading up to that, price was down, but the Moxie indicator was up. That was where we started to see some of these things, and this is why on a larger time frame and a bigger picture, I was saying, hey, it looks to me like this thing is starting to set up to where the TLT goes up, the TNX goes down. That's probably going to help the market a little bit. The other thing that, let me show you this real quick. If you look at PAYO, this was pretty important because I want to show you this so you can get this and understand this, because this is how the Moxie indicator works, and you'll then relate this to the Dixie, the dollar. And what you can see is, you could see PAYO was flagging sideways into an uptrending daily 50. Now, normally you would think, hey, this looks pretty good. This looks like a really great chart. It's going to come in, it's going to bounce off the daily 50, and we can be bullish. But then you'll notice that all of a sudden it failed the daily 50. And if you didn't have the Moxie indicator, or if you really just worked off of moving averages, you would have been late to the party and you would have lost money on that, thinking that maybe this thing was going to bounce off the daily 50. But if you come over here and you look at the hourly chart, notice how you had a bunch of zigzagging back and forth. Price could not hold the hourly 50. And then you could even see that the 50 was starting to cross below the 200. But the real big thing here that gave you the heads up that price was unlikely to move up was here, that the Moxie indicator never got over zero. It never actually fired a long bullish signal, along with price never being able to hold the hourly 50. And that gave you the tip off that price was likely to fall through or slice below the daily 50. Now, if you look at this over the Dixie, let's see, I'll try it again. All right, let's just do UUP, because we'll get the same thing out of that. We kind of zoom in, zoom out through here. So if you can see through here, it's a little bit difference between the DXY and the UUP, but the point still stands that as we were looking at the dollar starting to kind of move up like this, on the Dixie, DXY looked like it was going to bounce off the daily 50. But look what was happening. Notice here that the Moxie indicator was below zero the entire time. And you could see here, price just couldn't quite hold the hourly 50, kept kind of slicing through it. But really the biggest thing was that the Moxie indicator could not get over zero. It could never go bullish. It could never go positive. And that told you that this was unlikely to move up. So same pattern, same technicals, same thing to pay attention to with the Moxie indicator that told you, gave you a heads up that this was likely to fall down. And I think also the combination of the TLT moving up and the dollar moving down really helped the market this week, basically Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday since Jerome Powell came out. Now, yes, we've been seeing a lot of big moves, but I think we still need to be patient. Of course, the concern is, what if this is just another bounce in a downtrend? Of course, that's possible. We have had some other really, really aggressive moves to the upside, only to have them fail. So basically, yes, this is really exciting. Yes, it seems like this could be a little bit better and a little bit stronger than what we've seen before. But you do have to keep in mind, we are really just at the top of this channel. And you can see here on the semis, if I could draw a straighter line, just kind of use your imagination here. But you can see it's basically, or the NASDAQ, you can see that this is just in a channel. And all it's done is rapidly made it to the upper side of that channel. So do I want to go buy it right there? No, not really. I'm going to wait a little bit to see if any kind of pullback actually holds to support, and then if we can see if we can move up from there. So, I always talk about it's not the first move, it's the second move. That's really important, because you can see any kind of move that we've had over this recent 3 months, they never held. So I don't really want to go chase and buy this here. I'm going to wait and see if it actually holds support and then moves up. So you can see that was the NASDAQ. The semis basically look the same. I mean, tech generally looks the same. You can just eyeball this, and you can see here that price generally right there, right at the top of that channel. So same thing, going to have to wait for some sort of pullback. And even if we look at the small caps, great trade, great move. In fact, you could see that we basically made 52-week new lows, which was going to, this ends up being an undercut and rally. So go figure, that's how that works. But this isn't something I just don't want to go buy this right here. Like, yes, it's had 2 days of really, really nice moves, but we need to see if there's follow through. And this is not what I consider follow through, just 2 big updates. This has just been a really, really massive short squeeze. I think a lot of traders, a lot of investors, probably a lot of institutions just caught themselves flat-footed on the short side, thinking that things were just going to keep getting worse. Well, something sparked, and now we have a giant short squeeze. So we'll have to see if there's continual fuel, if people can actually reposition themselves and actually go long, but it's not going to be from here. It's just not. We're going to have to see if price can kind of settle down and then actually confirm and move up. So for as exciting as this is, really, we could only catch this for 2 days, and now we're going to have to let things settle down and figure out if this is a legitimate situation. Just 2 days don't make a trend. Even though I am very hopeful, I would really love to see this thing finally start to get some traction, finally move up. Maybe we can get that end of the year run. We are coming into a bullish time, and it's been a pretty tough 3 months. We've really just kind of having to sit on our hands for 3 months if you're not bearish, or be able to trade to the short side. So, we just had to wait, and that's kind of where we're at for here, is just having to wait through this. The other thing that was very interesting is that a lot of names that popped on earnings. So I don't have them marked here, but I can tell you that these were all earnings plays. Now, Palantir was looking pretty good in general because it basically was holding its level. That looked pretty good compared to the market, had really good relative strength. But this was on earnings, and since I don't trade earnings, I have to wait for it to settle down because I don't have any advantage for earnings. And then you could see AMD did the same thing. AMD jumped up on earnings. Cool, I'm happy about that. But now I got to wait and find an actual entry. This is not an entry. These are just really big moves that happened on earnings. And if we look at LMND, same thing. Was this a stock that was worth buying? I mean, look at this thing. It was pretty much coming in a downtrend this entire time and only reversed because of earnings. Now, maybe this is something that's going to change. Maybe this is going to be a great name going forward, and everything's different now. But we're going to have to look for a pullback. I mean, even look at this the last time that we saw earnings. You don't want to try and buy it right up there. You want to wait for some sort of pullback right in through here. So we're not entirely sure what it's going to be looking like or how long it's going to take, but we have to be patient for these things. Even Shopify. There was no trade other than earnings. And again, I don't trade earnings, so I have to wait till after earnings for these things to settle down. And you can see even here, this was another time right there with Shopify that had earnings. You don't want to just go chase it there. You want to wait for price to come back down like this. And when did it do it? Well, I mean, look at that. That was probably 2 weeks. 2 weeks that this thing was pulling back until it finally found some support and then was able to move up. So it kind of goes the same thing here. You're just going to have to wait a little bit because these are not the appropriate times to go chasing these things. There are a handful of names that have popped up, but they did it on earnings, and there really wasn't anything to do leading up to it because they were all down and down and down. So was the market for 3 months. So very exciting that this has all been happening and things moved this week. Fantastic. But, for those of us who want to find an actual swing entry longer term position to get in, we got to wait because this is not the time to go chase it. You have to wait for that pullback. So that's pretty much the story. And there were a lot of things that were leading us into this, and just a question of when was this going to trigger? And it seems like it's triggered. And now I'm hopeful that hopefully these pullbacks will be into strength.